Well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to start, if I may, just by saying a very genuine thank you to the organisers of this symposium, because this conference is an insightful and powerful opportunity for us to explore the whole issue of justice, the rule of law, and human rights. And it's an unusual and timely opportunity. Timely because of the challenges that are occurring here in Turkey, but timely because our world is being challenged in ways that many of us did not reasonably anticipate when we entered into the legal profession. And I just want to explore a few additional issues to those which we have already discussed. And I do not propose to reiterate all the points about the rule of law which have been so ably outlined by the distinguished contributors to the earlier sessions, not least because, and I'm sure that became clear in our session just before lunch, I basically agree with them. So I think you can all be relieved on that score. But I would like us to just reflect on some of the issues that we've touched on already, because I think they do have some real consequences for the roles that we collectively and individually play as guardians of the rule of law and the public interest. Because that, in my view, is what and who each and every one of us, by coming to this conference and participating one with the other, who each of us are. And it's my hope that we will not only encourage each other to hold fast to the fundamental principles which underpin the rule of law, but we will also together make a significant contribution to its development and its sustainability. Often, we, in response to the justiciable problems with which we deal, or with which we fail to deal, we become the arbiters of the quality of justice which the citizens in our diverse countries actually receive. Our acts and our omissions are the stuff which the rule of law is made of. And the nature of what we do and how we do it, the understanding which exists between us, I think has never been more important, because comity isn't just a word, a concept, nor an aspiration. It is a necessity. So our collective effort in discharging our respective legislative, independent, judicial, and legal professional duty is the patina which gives justice its flavour and its poignancy. And I think sometimes it's easier if we pretend that it is not so. For the burdens of discharging that duty can be onerous and testing, forcing us to raise our voices against the clamour for less just but more immediate and politically less challenging solutions. Yet, as we all know, the test of a true professional is not just their grasp of their subject, but the courage to trust their judgment when others would invite an easier and less arduous path. And in the end, it's a matter of choice. Do we choose to do that which will better support and better illuminate the rule of law, or do we choose not to? And I think it needs to be accepted by us all that it is indeed a choice, and that the choices we make will determine the quality of the democracy we will each enjoy as part of our new globalized world. And it's sometimes incredibly attractive to concentrate on the esoteric intellectual gymnastics that most lawyers in this room actually love, as opposed to the consequences of what those theories and principles deliver for the people of our countries, and their need to taste, touch, and see justice is real and palpable. And we are quite often the conduits through which they will do that. And I think the world really is at a turning point. Now, this has been said many times in our respective histories, but this turning point is somewhat different from those which have come before, because the importance of the choices made by each country, the jurisprudence developed within each, is no longer limited in effect to the borders of their own country, but will be felt, and you will see its echo through the new, interconnected, 24-hour, globalized world. Each tremor of instability or injustice will feel its pain mirrored in the faces of those who watch or listen intently in another land. And it is for this reason that a common understanding of the rule of law has never been more important than it is today, or more necessary as we navigate the new straits between state and individual rights. It's the foundation stone of stability, prosperity, and good governance, and we need to guard it and guard it jealously. The human rights legislation about which we've been speaking so intently throughout the last few days, and the minutiae of the articles, their meaning and consequences, are all of great importance. But the backcloth which created them has to be acknowledged, and the changes which have taken place since the creation of the structure in 1945 has not only to be noted, but reflected upon as we, today's jurists, struggle to build a set of juridical principles fit for the new millennia. The challenges today are more intense than ever before, because the pace of our lives is so much greater, and the interconnectivity between our citizens so much more intense and immediate. But because of the very nature of our new interconnectivity and interdependence, they are, whether on a macro or a micro level, shockingly similar. So parity of treatment is not just demanded by and between individual citizens in individual countries and according to national rules crafted to deal solely with the specificity demanded by national constructs, but between international citizens who seek the standards of treatment which they see reflected on their television screens, radios, and most importantly, the internet, and enjoyed by the advantaged. The questions they ask about why the standards and the rules by which they are judged and governed, which relate often to similar issues in their own country, region, or group, are so different from those of their brothers and sisters in another country, region, or group, can no longer be answered by the simple riposte, because they are they, and we are we. Citizens all over the world are demanding more cogent answers as to why it should be so, whether they are grouped with the advantaged or the disadvantaged. It is the right to ask why and to receive a satisfactory answer which lies at the core of the rule of law. Primo Levi, the Italian chemist and writer who survived Auschwitz, told a chilling story of the time when he asked one of the camp guards the question, why? He just blurted it out because it was the one thing he needed to know. And the guard pushed him aside and said simply, there is no why here. And that right to ask why is, and to get an answer, is right at the heart of a justice system, the rule of law, which delivers for individuals. The thirst for justice is, I think, a bit like our DNA, almost identical in any country that you touch, and evident in different forms in all our countries, irrespective of our gender, our race, our religion, our age, our sexual orientation, or our geographical location. It's a thirst for justice which is transparent and equally available to all, which allows the individual an opportunity to lawfully challenge that which is objected to and to receive a reasoned response. That really lies at the very heart of the dissent which has rippled through our world since the start of the Arab Spring, which I know that many of you here will remember started in Tunisia, when a young fruit seller, frustrated by the corruption which prevented him from obtaining a license to sell fruit, and against which in justice there appeared to be no relief, whether by way of application to an institution or court, civil or criminal, led him in utter desperation to take his own life in the most dramatic and devastating manner, setting himself alight in the town square. And for me, the light and the spark that lit up the whole of that region was created by the absence of the rule of law and the desire to obtain it. And I think the human spirit will only go for so long and for so far before it demands the rule of law, demands the opportunity. We had the benefit yesterday, and I'm sorry I missed it, of looking at the data that came from the World Bank. And all the themes discussed during this conference have real importance and resonance. Because I think we've spoken about the need to have clear and certain rules which apply equally to all, and from which there is no illegitimate exception. A robustly independent judicial system which fairly and justly adjudicates upon the legitimate justiciable claims which are brought before it without fear or favour and absent of any improper influence, be it political or further or other form. A prosecutorial process which is open and transparent and not corrupted by impropriety or improper consideration. And a police service which truly is on the side of and acts in the public interest. All need to be present if the rule of law is to prevail, each dependent and supportive of the other. But it's not just the institutions of state governance and regulation alone which need to adhere to the principles upon which the rule of law is founded. All organisations which exercise delegated or other authority need to do so too, because it's the oxygen which allows justice to breathe, and without which good governance, whether by democratic elective processes or otherwise, simply is not possible. And as I said just a moment ago, I was so glad that the World Bank data was explored, because I think that data has charted the impact which the rule of law and thereby good governance has on the economic health and well-being of states. From their data, it's clear that there is a direct correlation between those states which are fiscally sound and progressively and sustainably so, and the level of their adherence to the rule of law. Good governance goes hand in hand with sound, progressive development, and neither, in the long term, can live for long without the other. And the empirical data currently available points us in one direction and one direction alone. For those more interested in fiscal rather than the legal case for governance, the data makes an overwhelming case for compliance with and adherence to the rule of law. So at a time of global fiscal restraint and prudence, where most states are anxiously looking at their budgets, few of us can afford the imprudence of poor, ineffectual governance, or the trillions spent unnecessarily as a result of corruption or unfairness. Now, having been so strict in my session, I'm now going to be very strict with myself because I only have a couple of minutes. And as one of the women who has spoken on this conference, and I do want to congratulate the conference organisers because there has been a gender balance throughout the conference, which is something upon which we must all delight, remark and rejoice. Just to say that equality means equality for both men and women. And in a world where the World Health Organization tells us that 1 in 3 women in our world suffer from domestic violence and abuse, the importance of that gender balance as part of the rule of law has never been more important. And the issues happening in Nigeria highlight the need for change. The improvements that have been made in some of our countries in that regard have been marked. Many of you know that in our own country we reduced the level of domestic violence by 64%, and we saved 7.1 billion by way of economic cost. If we were able to do that throughout Europe, we would save, or we'd increase the GDP of Europe by 21%. So rule of law has not just academic resonance, but it has real economic value too. So I would like to leave us with a challenge. We all go to conferences and we are infused by what we learn and what we do. What I'd like us to do at this conference is to think, what will this conference change? And what will we do as a result of coming to this conference that we would not have done had we not come? In looking out at this audience, I am very much aware of the power which is in this room. And I think we shouldn't underestimate that if we choose, we could make the rule of law a reality for all our citizens. But it will take all of us. And so I hope we will all choose. And wouldn't it be wonderful if in the 2015 MDG, Millennium Development Goals framework, we could actually see the rule of law as one of the new Millennium Development Goals. Thank you very much.